Hey guys, I know a lot of you watch my channel because you've got the itch and you're looking to make your next knife purchase, which I totally get because I'm also a knife guy. So I invite you to open the description of the video you're watching right now and click here on my Amazon store where I've compiled some of my very favorites. As you can see, my most recommended knives and my favorite budget knives are right at the top, but there's also categories like knife maintenance, pocket clips, knife storage and display, and then a whole bunch of knives by popular brands. There's something down here for everybody, so make sure you take a look. Thanks. What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another interesting knife review slash knife overview to do with you guys. A very interesting knife from what I would consider to be the budget category. This is the Off-Grid Knives Rhino, a knife that was very, very kindly sent to me by Off-Grid Knives. You can see here, here's the box. I will provide a link down in the description, right at the top actually. You won't even have to go all the way into my store. Right at the top, I'll include a link for this guy. But I want to show you guys here real quick. You can check them out right here, and then also on Instagram. Absolutely. They've sent me a ton of awesome stuff, you know, including the Scorpion, which we've already talked about on this channel. Absolutely wonderful. I've been very impressed. Also really happy with their OEMs. This knife is actually made by Bestech. And you guys know my feelings on Bestech. I really like them. I feel like they do a great job. They have very similar manufacturing quality to WE Knives, which is awesome. That's their that's one of their other OEMs. So that's really, really cool, and I really appreciate that. If you guys are enjoying my daily knife content, remember I do have Patreon down in the description. You can get your hands on some cool stickers as well as gain access to my once-a-week Patreon exclusive content. If you'd like to support me, please follow that link. It would absolutely mean the world to me. Anyways, let's go ahead and get a measurement on this guy. This is not a small knife, but from tip to scale overall length, comes in a pretty standard 8.25 inches overall, and I mean standard for a full-size knife. Tip to scale on the blade coming in at about 3.6 inches, and your actual cutting edge is coming in something like 3.4 inches. So pretty good lines there. Let's go ahead and do some size comparisons up against the Ontario Rat Model 1. Rat 1 coming in at 8.6 inches overall, and the true mass of this blade comes out. Yeah, it's tall. This is a big boy. It's not your typical height to length ratio knife. This is a big, beefy knife. Rat 1 coming in at 8.6 inches overall. How about up against the Spyderco PM2? Spyderco PM2 coming in at 8.3 inches overall. How about up against let's do the Off-Grid Scorpion. Why not? Off-Grid Scorpion coming in at, I think these are 8.5 to 8.75. Let's go ahead and measure it. Yeah, it's actually like 8.65, something like that. I'll link both of these knives down in the description so you guys can take a look. The Scorpion's not what I'd call a budget knife. This is what I'd call a budget knife. How about up against the Benchmade Griptilian, or in this case, the Ritter Hogue? Ritter Hogue coming in at 8.1 inches overall. And last but not least, the Spyderco Para 3. Spyderco Para 3's coming in at 7.25 inches overall. How's the action on this guy? If you've ever handled a Bestech knife, whether it's been from their premium line or their budget line, you'll know that they basically achieve fall shut action. This is crazy smooth. This is just as smooth as I would expect a $250, $350, $500 knife. I mean, honestly, it feels... It's weight and mass of a blade that's tall. It's not thick, but there's a lot of mass in that blade, and it feels Bestech-y. If you've ever handled a Bestech knife or a WE knife, right? You feel how those bearings kind of wear that race into the surfaces on the inside. It feels like that was already done by the time it got to you, and there's no blade play, and everything's tight, and it's just good to go. So not only is the flipping action good, and part of that's due to the shape of the flipper tab, which is fairly prominent, but you got a lot of room to get a good lock in, push down, it fires out. Has that nice metallic sound here. I'll let you listen to it. Sounds nice. It adds to the level of fidget factor, which is very high on this guy. No double clutch. Very easy to open and close over and over and over again. Doesn't matter if you're opening it straight up with your thumb. It's going to function. That's fantastic. I have no complaints about that whatsoever. Let's go ahead and do a hardware check because I always forget to do that. Get out my handy dandy WEA bit selector and WEA magnetic driver, two items that are very inexpensive and very recommendable. You can find them down in that Amazon store that I referenced at the beginning of the video. Just open it up, scroll down until you see knife maintenance, and you should be able to find these two pretty easily. I'm pretty sure that those body screws are T6. And, well, I always have to show it, because otherwise people are like, how do we know that was T6? You didn't show it. It's T6. Let's go ahead and try these right there. Yeah, those are T6. Okay, so you guys know how I feel about T6. I wish they weren't T6. I prefer T8 or higher, because it's less likely your bits will strip, but it's never a deal breaker. I'm going to guess that that pivot there is a, sorry, T8. The adjustment side is actually on the non-show side, or the back. Oh, it's knife people like to add syllables to things to make ourselves sound smart, right? The non-show side. Oh, you mean the back? Jeez. Anyways, T8 pivot, T6 body screws. Wish it wasn't, but no big deal. Especially this price. It's not that big of a deal. Let's go ahead and do carry profile comparison. So this is not only tall, it's a little bit thick too. Not super thick, but it's definitely thicker than the Para 3. Height this way, up against PM2 and Para 3. I mean, it's not a whole lot. I mean, it's a big knife all the way around, but you can see it still has the same type of taper as the PM2. Because of the overall height and because of the flipper tab, it is a little bit taller than the PM2, not quite as long, definitely bigger than the Para 3. It's also definitely thicker, and it's definitely heavier. Let's go ahead and weigh it here. Get out my scale, which is buried underneath a bunch of stuff that I forgot to move out of the way before I started the video. And it's on and trying to calculate the weight of the things that were on top of it. Oh no, it's freaking out. Hang on. Hang on, we're experiencing technical difficulties. There we go. So this is steel and G10 and quite a bit of it. There is a little bit of milling actually going on the inside. Right there, you can see, yeah. And then not a thick blade, but a lot of blade, right? Total material. Let's get out these much better and much more accurate calipers. Blade stock thickness, really 145 thousandths? Let's try that again. I would very much like to be accurate. Yeah, okay, 140 thousandths on that guy. That seems a little bit thick. Let's make sure that it's actually measuring that. Here's a blade that I know to be 140 thousandths. Or 145. Okay, 140 thousandths on the Rhino. So it is actually a little thick, not super thick, a little thick. Change that to ounces, and we come in at 6.6 ounces overall. So it's like I always say, guys, if you're working outside, you're wearing jeans or you're wearing heavy-duty pant material, and you don't carry anything else in your pocket, you're not going to care. It's not going to bother you. If you work in an office, if you wear athletic shorts every day, if you wear skinny jeans every day, if you don't like big knives, and if you carry other stuff in your pocket, this is probably not going to be something that you're going to enjoy. I don't consider it overly massive. That's kind of right there on a teetering point for the mass that I like to carry anyway. I do work in an office, but I also wear jeans, and I also work outside on the weekends, so I don't shy away from a knife like this. It is big, but to me, it's not too big. It's actually kind of enjoyable, and to be honest, I feel like with this knife, it's part of the charm. You know, on the ZT 0909, was that it? The one that was based on the Les George Talos? Originally, it was like 180 bucks, and then they dropped the price down to like 125 before they discontinued it. It's like that, but nowhere near as expensive, and the bulkiness doesn't seem in excess. To me, this knife, the bulkiness is represented in handle lock-in. All the lines are in the right place, fills the hand, and then the excess height and thickness of the blade gives me this sort of feeling of structural integrity and durability, but at the same time, it has a lot of room to taper down towards a pretty darn thin cutting edge. I mean, this thing is legitimately built like a workhorse. Initially, when I looked at this knife, Carrie, if you're watching, when I looked at this, I thought, aesthetically it's okay, but it's not really doing it for me. Then I got it, and the feel of it, like the amount of material, the excess is in the right place, right? The hand position, like when I lock into this, it feels good. There's nothing on this knife that feels like it's in the wrong place or that it's creating this hot spot or this point that's just would become uncomfortable. No, it's ready to go, just like this. I'm locked in. I'm not going to run my finger up on that blade. There's nothing in the cutting path. It's ready to go, and I really, really like that. So I guess we kind of covered ergonomics there. Taking a look at the scales, like I said, they're G10. We got a little bit of very, not super aggressive peel ply, just enough for you to feel the texturing. Then it comes down into these diagonal lines that persist down to the bottom of the blade. And it's nice because no matter what angle you're cutting or how you're gripping, I mean, your fingers are finding grip, right? You're not going to let go of this. It doesn't matter if you're wearing gloves. Here's the nice thing about this knife. This knife will function And you'll be able to deploy it whether you're wearing gloves or you're in your bare hands. And you're not going to find that it's going to be, you know, like an insane amount of difference in terms of how much wear the knife is, you know, putting on your bare hands, right? This flipper tab is big enough that it's easily actuated if you're wearing gloves. And at the same time, it's super comfortable to actuate if you're not wearing gloves. You're going to be able to hang on to this knife and not be uncomfortable if you're not wearing gloves. But at the same time, the handle's big enough where even if you're wearing gloves, it's not like this little tiny thing where you're having to squeeze really hard to sort of feel the object through the thickness of the gloves. No, you're not going to have to deal with that. I can tell by the other knives that I've been sent by Off-Grid Knives that Carrie considers this, right? These knives are like, hey, I want you to go out and use them, but I went out and used probably a bunch of different prototype designs before I realized, you know, this design is going to work really, really well for that. So, and that's nice because I feel like we're missing a bunch of really well-made, well-designed budget knives that are big enough to be, you know, like in kind of the outdoor specific world, but actually usable and not like novelty big. Like, it's kind of an odd place, but there is kind of a void there, at least in my experience. Now, arguably a lot of knives can work just fine in outdoor hard use situations, and you don't necessarily have to have an excess of material. But listen, what I'm saying is if I was going to go work outside for the entire day and I knew that I was going to be wearing gloves and going to be in need of an easily accessible folding knife, I would be very appreciative of something this size, you know, that's going to go to work for me. So I really like that. What steel are we working with? We are working with D2 steel, which of course is fine and perfectly acceptable in this price range. This blade is sort of a black tumbled blade, which is going to look nice and it's going to hide wear over time. No big deal. I don't think that there is a tumbled version of this available, but that would have been really cool. I like tumbled blades, you know, like I kind of like the tumbling that's on this guy. And actually we have, show off one more, and why not? I'll include the link to it as well. But like the finish that's on this Off-Grid, this Alpha Dog, which is just an absolute monster. This finish on that would have been super cool. But no big deal. The black wash still looks great. It'll do its job. D2, while not being stainless, it's very close. 12 to 12.5% chromium, something like that. It's very close to stainless. Nice and tough, good edge retention. Absolutely a great steel for the price range. We have functional jimping back here, which is nice. Nice thumb ramp for you to lock in. Works really well in tandem with this primary choil right here. We have a flat that carries out about 70% or so, carrying that 140 thousandths. Apparently, it doesn't look that thick, but it's probably because the scales are so thick. Carrying that out to, it looks to not really taper until about right here. Plenty of durability towards the tip, though you still do gain the benefit of having a tip that can absolutely puncture. And then you have this nice, you know, for the size of the blade and the size of the knife, it does get thin. I mean, like not razor blade thin, but it gets thin, like to the point where, you know, if you're trying to process wood or cardboard or rubber or something, you're really going to appreciate that you've got a big, powerful blade, a handle you can lock in on, but an edge that actually tapers down to a functional cutting bevel, right? I mean, you're going to appreciate that. I like that. I also like that he kept the insane billboarding off there. We just have the Off-Grid Knives logo, which honestly looks really nice. I like that. They sent the coin along, and it looks cool, right? Let me see here. Yeah. So you guys get a look at the actually what it looks like up close. But that looks nice on the blade, the contrast with the black. And then on the other side it says D2. Nothing else. That's all that there should ever be. It's great. There's a sharpening choil down here. This looks like a blade that would be very friendly to sharpen. D2 is not the easiest steel in the world to sharpen, but once you get used to it, it's okay. And a blade like this is going to accentuate ease of sharpening over time. Meaning there's a place to clamp on if you've got the guided system, and then this isn't a tanto or a recurve or anything like that. It's not a compound grind. It's just a straightforward, you know, edge. So it's nice. Moving down to this. Oh, by the way, this is all nicely rounded off. There's nothing sharp here. This is nicely, you can see there, it's nicely knocked down. No issues. Edges around here have all been nicely chamfered. That means no hot spots whatsoever on this knife. We have a nice G10 backspacer back here. Flipping it over to the other side, we have a wonderfully designed pocket clip. Deep carry. The screws are not recessed, but I've found after a few days of carrying this in and out of the pocket, it's just easy. And it really, I mean, the fact that that clip is completely deep carry, you know, there's nothing special about that clip. It's just a steel clip, right? But it's deep carry and it hides the entire knife all the way into your pocket. And you should be able to access the knife whether you're wearing gloves or not, you know, considering it's got that nice large divot, right? The bill is, I always prefer it's more of a sweep like this. And this one's more of a dip and then just go straight out. It's a little more likely to catch on things in a clip like this, but nowhere near as likely to catch on things versus a clip like, let me get my Microtech out, this. I hate it. I hate clips like this because they catch everything. This isn't like that. I wouldn't worry too much. And you know what? If it breaks off, I'm gonna venture to guess that they'll work something out with you. I think that that'd be pretty easy to replace. Like I said, we've got a T8 pivot on this side, very plain and simple, no issues there. The knife locks up at, I've been using this a little bit, but it locks up at, I don't know, like 40–45%. And of course, the blade is perfectly centered, which is what you can expect from best spec knives. So let's go over again what I don't like or what I don't think everybody will like. This is a big knife. It's, I mean, plain and simple. It's a big knife and it's a heavy knife and it's more of an outdoor knife, right? If you're just in it for the fidget factor and you like how it looks, there you go. Problem solved. Yeah, I can recommend it to you. If you're not somebody who carries big knives, right, you might see the value in this. You might see, where everything's going. And believe me on the fit and finish and the quality and everything, which, by the way, the execution of all this is very, very good. It's very best spec. But if you work in an office, right, and you just don't like big knives or they're cumbersome or they just don't make sense for your work environment, then yeah, you're probably not going to like this. If you do work outside, you are on a budget, you're looking for a dependable cutting tool that's easy to use whether you're wearing gloves or not wearing gloves, right? That is manufactured by a group that is notorious for having really high-end or quality fit and finish. Yeah, like, what are you doing? Please go get this. This is awesome. The only thing that I don't like about this is that it's got T6 screws. Everything else is great. Like, I had no idea how much I would like this. And I was shocked. You guys remember me unbox it? When I unboxed it, I was pumped that it was actually a big knife. For whatever reason, I thought it was going to be this little thing like this. I got plenty of room to get my hand. This is a knife that I will absolutely take out on the weekends, rotating out, of course, with the dedicated outdoor knife, the Rat, and use, because it's awesome. Yeah, it's got bearings, and I can get some gunk in there, and it'll be fine. Most of the time, I can blow that stuff out with compressed air. If I really have to get into it, I can. It shouldn't be that difficult. We've got 2 pieces of G10, some body screws, and a pivot, and you're in. You know, no big deal. Absolutely 100% a recommended product from me. It's going to go on my most recommended budget knives in of course, the Amazon store. There'll be links down below. It's also going to go on my most recommended knives playlist, and it's going to go on my favorite budget knives playlist as well, so that everybody will always be able to find this, because I think this is really cool, and I think what Off Grid Knives is doing is awesome, and I want people to know about him, so absolutely. So thanks again, Carrie, for sending this guy along. Guys, that's going to be pretty much it. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on this Metal Complex logo right here and subscribe, because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.